Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the GAIA Daily for December 12th through 16th, 2022. Well, here we sit at such a powerful moment in time and history. And this is why the study of astrology is so profound and can help us understand the path and the patterns of our life and our destiny. So, Venus yesterday moved over into the sign of Capricorn, and Mercury has already moved over into Capricorn. And so this is bringing a shift of energy. It's a grounded focus energy, kind of like, okay, then let's just get to work. But we are having a hard time figuring out anything with Mars retrograde and all of these mutable squares that we've been feeling. And so we're in this strange place, and indeed, this place of like trying to go forward and having to go back, two steps forward, three steps back, three steps forward, two steps back. We have been here for the last, I don't know, lifetimes, but definitely this last few years. And it's in the process of, we're in the process of a massive shift. And that's what this is really about. We're in the shaker. We're getting shaken and stirred, dropping the stories of the past and making room for our true enlightened star self that's trying to land. If there were a time for a bigger self, if this is true, that we have that hasn't quite fully incarnated, it would I think that whole concept would resonate with a DNA activation, um, and timeline alignment. This solstice is ripe for this transition. And so let's talk through these energies. The slingshot vibration is coming from Jupiter moving over into Aries. It happens on the 20th, 21st, right before the solstice. And so let's talk about this because we're coming into now, solstice always has an energy of kind of careening in the northern hemisphere, winter solstice careening in to a tunnel, a very shortening of the days, a darkening of the light as we prepare for that rebirth moment, which also happens in the opposite reflection in the southern hemisphere. And so this kind of darkening and spiraling into the darkness is also reflected in the astrology, the path of astrology. And of course, that sun is rebirth. So it goes to the shortest day and the longest day, and reflection in the southern hemisphere, the longest day, shortest day. So what there's a very interesting energy that happens is like we spiral into the darkness in the northern hemisphere at this time of year, and then at solstice we begin to spiral back out. It is a death and rebirth process, and everything in astrology is speaking to this, with Jupiter lingering for the last couple of months at the end degrees of Pisces, the very end of the zodiac, the degrees of death before the rebirth. So here we are, and we're dancing on the edge, just like for the next couple of years. Pluto beginning to move into Aquarius as of March 2023, but moving back into Capricorn and not fully moving into Aquarius until November 2024. So here we are. And we've been here for a while, right? It's a shift of ages and we're teetering at the edge. And are we ever going to flip over? Or are we going to stay in this in between intermediate place where we know we can't go back to who we were? And yet, what's there to catch us? Well, that divine timeline, that ideal, this beautiful original vision of what Earth wants and will be becoming in this evolutionary experience that's been held back, but nothing can really hold it. So now comes the time where all of the forces that have been suppressed and held back, of spirit, of light, of all the incredibly, you can't even believe how many powerful souls are on the planet right now. And maybe that's the deal. They don't even know who they are. And yet They've done incredible things throughout their lifetimes, and they're just here waiting in the wings. Is that you, supernova soul? And the story of this particular time of year is just so powerful and telling us that indeed this Jupiter moving over into the Aries point for the third and final time over that place of the greatest conjunction, the Christmas star, the Star of Bethlehem at the last shift of ages, saying, indeed, this is the next part of the chapter. This is where we reset to the divine timeline. And that Christ consciousness that became available as an etheric energy through the Piscean age, and of course was then attacked and targeted and called evil and darkness, but that in spiritual impulse is now going to come back. It's been suppressed. And just like when you suppress disease in the body, eventually the body says, all right, enough. We're going to use our last strength, muster up the power we have, all of the power we have contained, and we're going to throw off this disease. This is where we're at on the planet. Too many people realize at this point that I know it seems like nobody realizes, but actually, too many people realize that we're stuck in a false reality and that we're being programmed and controlled. And we're getting to the last battle where we choose life or we become a robot. And so nothing can stop the revolution, the human revolution. And it starts now because this energy is so powerful. So, with the deal that is happening is that, um, well, what we're feeling this week is the sun in square to Neptune. Now, Mercury made this square, Venus made this square. These planets have been going through a whole journey, a whole story together, and the sun coming up behind. The sun is making the square with Neptune. It's also got that square with Jupiter at the solstice we'll talk about, but that's in the cardinal signs at 0 degrees Capricorn. This is our last mutable, real intense mutable square. And so it's like where we're pushed against the wall in our unknown, in our stuckness, in our resistance, and everything that's been holding us back. It feels like a feeling of anticipation of the changes that are coming, and a part of ourselves that wants to hold on to the old way just because it's the only thing we know. We're being called out to the light of day. We're being called to once again, after thousands of years, to express ourselves in our spiritual light in order to complete, in order to survive, in order for humanity to evolve. It's time for this evolution to now move forward. And so, those of us who have been hiding in the darkness, saying, trying to stay safe as the light, must come out as the light and recognizing that all of the insecurities, the blockages, the inability to move forward, the immobilization, it's all connected to a fear of being seen, a fear of success, a fear of joy, a fear of love, a fear of all of the good things that we've been taught through manipulative tactics never to trust. And this is the energy. It's like we've been all in the vibe of like waiting for the next bad thing to happen. Now we need to be waiting for the next good thing to happen, not even waiting. We need to be in the energy and the vibration of the miracles that got us into this age. And it's these miracles that will get us out. And so the Sun square Neptune is speaking to this because Neptune Pisces is a complete rehash of the Piscean age. And the Sun is who do we think we are? Now, get this. Now, the Mercury made this, Sun just, or Venus just made this. Now, the Sun's turn, um, making a square with Neptune, going over the galactic center, and then square with Jupiter. So this Sun square Neptune is our last mutable square for a while, and it's the Sun is who do we think we are? In Sagittarius, it's the greater spiritual purpose of humanity. It's the rising vision, the future, the quest. And we've gotten so far off of our quest, or it seems like it. Maybe it's right. It's been right here all along. Just like source and mother and love, it's all inside of us, but we bought into the Once we bought into the fact that we were separate, we had to climb our way back. And this is what we're doing. We're climbing our way right back into the lap of the love of being the children of God, creation that we are, with a direct connection, our birthright. This direct connection to source means that a human soul, conscious of itself as source in a body, is the highest form of authority. The one with the body has the power. We need to claim this back again. This is why we're in a position where it's a life or death situation. It's the life of humanity or the death of humanity. This is what Aries energy is all about, the fight for life and that energy of the vital force, the energy of the body mustering up that strength for the final battle. So, this sun in Sagittarius, speaking to the human destiny of spiritual evolution, of higher consciousness, of evolving beyond the need for an outside authority. This sun in Sagittarius is asking us what is blocking, what from the past, from the Piscean age in the past, is blocking our true human expression. Because as our birthright, we have mechanisms and supernova souls, we've already developed and used these on Earth in previous lifetimes. We have higher faculties we can't even comprehend. And this is what gets us out of this mess. Now, those were completely attacked and suppressed on every turn in the Piscean age. Like, oh my gosh, that person's activating into their light body, go kill them and call them a witch, literally. And so now we're going back and we're saying we're uncovering, we're getting ourselves out from under the rubble of those old stories. And a lot with the sun in Sagittarius coming up to the galactic center, it's like, well, these stories are about where we have been beating ourselves up, hating ourselves, and like just being stuck in immobilization and low self-worth because of how far we've gotten off of our spiritual path. Because this is all that matters to supernova souls. You can stack up all the problems, the seeming problems in your life, and underneath all of them is this: your unexpressed potential, your gifts that you have bestowed upon yourself and with creation and creator bestowed upon you through your work and your consciousness that you're not using. I know you don't even know you have them, but something's wrong, right? And something's very right. And this is what you find in the supernova story. What's wrong about you? What everybody gives you a hassle about your whole life, it's actually what's right about you. It's your unique, faceted expression. And it's becomes the sensitivity, the awareness of the supernova soul becomes a great burden and overwhelm, especially in these times where we've got struggle and the dark side is trying to just do whatever. They're losing hold, but they're doing whatever they can to continue the misery because they feed on the misery. Can we remember this in our daily life and be like, did source put me here to suffer this? Is this suffering or am I suffering? Am I making it into a bigger problem? Am I stressing out my immune system, disconnecting myself from spirit and source by suffering this existence? This is happening, yes, but you it's your choice whether or not you're suffering it. Can we say, okay, there's something beyond all of this, and it's a beautiful energy with peace of mind and equilibrium and harmony. And that exists before anything else. And so, because we're at this incredible, powerful time where very quickly a huge amount of souls are going to be disconnecting from the matrix, just taking their power back. And this is the energy of the slingshot. So the sun square Neptune is kind of leading us into this energy, and it's this last mutable square. Jupiter's still at 29 degrees Pisces, and we've got who we are in our destiny as humans to evolve beyond control energies. And then this energy of the square saying, what's in the way of dropping those old stories? What's in the way of claiming back the magic of who we really are? That all of your problems will be solved just like they have been through source, through vibration, through energy, through Mother Nature. It's not, you're not required to suffer it. It can happen and we can learn. And just understanding that the dark forces have been feeding on our misery. And so we got to climb our way out of that hole. And it's not easy, I know, because we are under so much electromagnetic attack. And yet our energy field and force is so much more, especially when we connect to the earth. This is what we've lost, that interconnectedness. There's no way we could have ever gotten into this mess if we didn't give that up. No wonder all of the feminine arts, the feminine teachings, the female power, the energy of connection, the indigenous cultures that had that connection have all been completely attacked, genocide. There was a systematic approach to finding the leaders, the spiritual leaders of all tribes and ruining them. And this is a long-term agenda. And we kind of are at this place where we have to face this fact so we can take it back. And so when you find this power to reconnect to source, to be like, I'm writing my own story, I'm breathing a new breath, I'm going to let that problem and that misery be over there because it's not my job to suffer it. Creator didn't put me here for that. Creator put me here. Creation put me here. I put myself here to expand and to grow and to co create. Now, we can never do that when we're in survival mode. That's, of course, why the forces of control have sought to keep us there. And we're coming to this incredible crux of this energy. Okay, so the Sun square Neptune facing, coming to terms with all of these old stories and dropping them for good and choosing in our own being, in our own power, our own sovereignty, our human evolution. And that is peaking out on the 15th, so Thursday this week. And so it's just we're just feeling this all week, and it's kind of this like chokehold energy. It's like, oh yeah, because frustration is brewing with Mars going deeper into retrograde, deeper into the repression, deeper into where our voice and the voice of peace, the voice of reason, the voice of harmony, the voice of interconnectedness has been silenced. And so, such a powerful play of events as we prepare for this shift over these next couple of months. So, let's talk it through this slingshot energy. So, this week we've got Sun square Neptune, and that this is going to lead us up into the sun will then move over on the 18th, 19th. Next week, will be crossing over the galactic center. So it's this what's in the way? What's keeping you in the past? Why are you playing out these old stories of like everything that's immobilizing us from being able to just uh, claim that light within us and claim that peace within us and claim that the life force is going to move through us and heal all? It's not up to us to do it, but we're going to finally allow that energy to come through. We have so much resistance on so many levels of our body that we don't even realize. This is everything the last few astrology years have been about in astrology is like, where is your resistance? And what is your resistance to letting go of the stories of who you've been told you are and allowing the light of who you really are to come through? Now, when we get to that place where we're being asked to surrender, it's like that's where we really stop ourselves because supernova souls, we've been so manipulated and so duped and gaslit. And so when we get to that point, it feels like if I let go of my ego constructs, then I'm going to be controlled by the other side. And so we've got to climb our way back to this direct connection to source. We know we have it intellectually, but we're not living it. And this was the deal. This is the deep mystery of the Christ consciousness and the Christ mystery is that out of all of the souls on earth, he was showing us what it means to live, a living Christ. We have not been living, and this is the frustration, the energy that's building because Jupiter in Aries is about like, ugh. Mars, our warrior planet, masculine, in this is the ruler of Aries, and Jupiter expands whatever it comes into. And so right now it's expanding the dark ages for us to dip back in and claim back our wholeness. Then it moves into Aries where it's like expand. And I just feel like supernova souls, we really want to be ready to roll with this. And but it's going to be incremental increases of energy. But we really want to make this spring work for us and completely claim our freedom on all levels of our life. And it starts right here in our psyche, in our consciousness, and our thoughts and our emotions. And coming back to, oh, maybe it's like we've been split into hemispheres, and one hemisphere, you could say, is the control, the mind, the thoughts, the problems, the issues. One hemisphere, the garden. But the garden is in your heart, and it's always been there, and it's who you are. And so all of this noise that's trying to distract us right now, just be like, I'm going back to the garden. That'll be there. I'm going to go spend some time over here. And also creative projects. Anything that you feel like is like expressing and moving forward. Get your ducks in a row, clean up, get organized, get going on your projects. Just try to move forward. What I see in supernova souls is this whole last couple of years with all these transits at the end degrees of Pisces and Neptune in Pisces is this bringing up the trauma of the Piscean age where you were just about to achieve something major in a past life and you were either killed or exiled or tortured or thwarted or whatever. And that energy, first of all, this is what we're dealing with here, this grief this week over how we've gotten off our path. But this unresolved energy, this self-hatred, like this and then that part of you is still stuck in that old personality construct that can no longer be played out because you're not in that lifetime anymore. And then we have like multiple personalities and we're trying to like fulfill all these different timelines and situations. Whew. It feels like maybe that's the soul group session might have a huge energy, and I'm sure of soul retrieval. I hope you can consider joining this solstice soul group session because there's definitely this picture of like this astrology is right for to pull in that bigger, truer self, to feel anchored and at home in your body where you can direct your life from that place of wholeness and align with the divine and ideal timeline. You are that timeline landing home. And so we've got this energy of preparation and where we have allowed the stories of the past, the traumas of the past to immobilize us. And we're getting through, but it's been survival mode ever since. And then you can never expand beyond. You can never see the wider horizons. And this is the sun coming over the galactic center. It's just like, oh God, we're all lost in this old stories and it's playing out everywhere and it's karmic storm. And then it's like, humans, you're so much more and you're so much bigger and there's so much more potential. So this is the energy that's happening. So on the 18th, 19th next week, early next week, we've got that. This is what's going to start the whole energy of solstice. Okay. So the sun on the galactic center, just reminding us that we're galactic beings having a human experience and to just hold on to the life that feeds all and let that move through us, let it solve our problems, let it come through as love and compassion and just move the energy, right? We've been so stagnant, and that's the deal with astrology. It's like nothing ever stops moving. Okay, they want us to feel stuck and stagnant, and that's the deal with astrology. It's like nothing ever stops moving. Okay, They want us to feel stuck and stagnant. And this is the deal. The Sun square Neptune is like the loops and the stories and the circles, like that same karmic patterns you keep playing out and playing out. How about where you give yourself away? You know, and you say, well, next time I'm never going to do this again. And then you give yourself away. So, whew, the power that's growing inside of unexpressed potential and unexpressed power and unexpressed individual power is so strong. And supernova souls holding the understanding of this progression can hold a picture for humanity to rise up and to awaken to these truths. Um, and because we understand the story, what's playing out in the bigger picture. So, Sun galactic center, and then on that same day, on the 19th, Venus comes into exact square with Chiron. Now, let's talk about this because so much of what I've been talking about has to do with Chiron and Aries. Chiron is still retrograde. Chiron in Aries turns direct at 11. It's at 11 degrees. Now, 11 is a number of standoff. It's a number of one against the other. It's a number of declaring war. It's also a portal to a whole new reality. So it's kind of like, what is the conflict that's keeping us from pushing through, right? Very powerful for Chiron to be lingering at 11 degrees, turning direct at 11 degrees, and will not come back to this area, this half of Aries again, you know? So Chiron will have moved to the second half of Aries, and we're going to get into the next part of the program and story. We've been figuring out what this is even about. And Chiron is getting a huge show right now. Last month, we had first Mercury, then Venus, then the Sun, all trine up with Chiron. Now, these planets in Capricorn will be squaring with Chiron. And Mercury is getting ready to take a retrograde. Now, this is part of the energy we're feeling. Mercury goes into retrograde shadow in Capricorn uh, tomorrow, the 13th. And it's kind of like this, like, oh, that rebirth coming, and Mars will turn direct eventually, and I'm gonna do it this time, and I'm gonna grab a hold of it. I'm not gonna miss the boat, I'm gonna get on that train. And yet it's like Mercury retrograde in Capricorn. Capricorn is about limitations and restrictions, ruled by Saturn. It's about the constructs of time and the authority structures that hold into place our construct of our society. And so Mercury is up against the wall here. And with a retrograde starts, the Mercury retrograde starts on the 29th of December, 24 degrees Capricorn, meaning that Mercury will stay in Capricorn the whole retrograde. And that means close to 3 months in Capricorn, Mercury in Capricorn. And so it's like this, we have this impetus energy now of like, whoa, I need to get to work. I need to get ready. I can feel something coming. I got to take some practical steps. And then Mercury's going, no, you don't know anything about who you are because we have allowed outside forces to dictate our reality for so long. We don't even know how to do it. That's why we encounter such anxiety and fear. It's like programmed into our reality as we expand our consciousness. We're like, oh no, I can't go there. Oh, I can't expand beyond this. It's like, why? What? You've already done it. You have the full capacity. The only thing keeping you is the fear, the matrix that won't let you go. Where won't the matrix let you go? This is the energy of this week. Where are you continuing to feed, even though you thought you were free, right? Where in your psyche, where are we continuing to live in their misery and their constructs, their lack, their bullshit? When do we step into our abundance? And that's what this is about. So, this whole time in the slingshot energy, and so Mercury makes three squares with Chiron for this retrograde. And it's what this retrograde's all about because Capricorn is about the structures of our reality and authoritarian structures. And Mercury is the structures of the mind. And so we're rearranging our perspective and we're going up against the man and we're saying, hey, we played out this game, right? We came as willing participants, I guess. you know, to pretend and forget how powerful we are. But game over because this square with Chiron is just like this life force that's just eating away at us, like all that hasn't been expressed for lifetimes, and it's like ready to come out, you know. And the regular everyday human is also going through this of this surge of life force coming in. And it's that surge of life force. It's like until you feel the spirit in you and until you feel that energy, you don't have the strength, the confidence to make that leap. Fear programming is always going to take you back down to the dungeon, you know? And so this is the impetus we need to get over the hump. And so Mercury square Chiron is about this. The first square happens um, this week. So we've got Sun square Neptune facing everything from the past of who we were and all the stories we played out that are keeping us from making the leap, as well as where we gave away the magic and the miracles and the possibilities. And then Mercury square Chiron this week, and that's exact on the 15th. Um, Also on Thursday, actually. Wow, the 15th, a very powerful day. And so we have the next two squares with Chiron, Mercury square Chiron. Like I said, Mercury moves into retrograde shadow, squares up with Chiron this week, then turns retrograde on the 29th, retrogrades back to a square with Chiron, 12 degrees. Okay, so the first square with Chiron is at 11 degrees, and we talked about this. It's war. We're ready to fight for our freedom now. And we got to do it every moment and every breath as we breathe in and live the unity within us and establish this divine timeline and bring our consciousness, our thoughts, our belief, our emotions, energies back to the magic of the divine that heals all. We've got to let this in. And we've been compartmentalized and programmed, but it's starting to dismantle. And that's when you run with it. And so the second square Mercury square will be on the 11th of January, but at 12 degrees. So we've got this 11-11 energy. It's like, yeah, we're going to war, but it's about creating a new world and creating a new life. And it's 1, 2, 3, go. And so powerful energies today on the 12th, 12, 12. And maybe that's why these insights are coming through because it's like, hey, you guys, this is what we're doing. 3, 2, 1, go. And so the third and final square with Chiron will have to happen after Mercury's direct or just as it turns direct, um, just after it turns direct at the very end of January. So Mercury will come out of retrograde shadow, turns direct on the 19th of January, and will come out of retrograde shadow on the 7th of February. Now, Jupiter is direct now, but will not enter and will move into Aries on the 20th, 21st. Comes out of retrograde shadow February 11th. So we got Mercury out of shadow February 7th. We got Jupiter out of shadow February 11th. And right in the mix is Mars turning direct on January 12th, another 12. And then coming out of retrograde shadow March 15th. So, very powerful energies around the equinox this year of like really putting yourself out there, really getting going, really making some major, massive changes, or they're happening to you. You've been working on them, you just didn't know how exactly they were going to unfold. Very, very exciting. But leading up to the solstice, let's talk more locally here. We talked about um, the sun. Here we have these intense squares, Mercury square Chiron, Sun square Neptune this week. It's like, what's keeping you from life force? What's keeping you from living? What's get out from under these old stories and all of this coming up? And then we've got Sun over the galactic center, seeing a greater, bigger picture of what in the heck we are doing here and claiming it and owning it and living it and breathing it. And then on the same day, Venus square Chiron. And Venus square Chiron is saying it's about the feminine taking their sovereignty back. you know? And that's all of the parts of ourselves that have been persecuted as healer or intuitive, the sensitivity, that interconnectedness we're talking about. And so Venus in that square with Chiron, again, frustration growing over why we haven't been able to move forward in our freedom. And it's got to come to a head. You got to come to the corner. And that's what these squares are about. And then right after that, so that's the 18th and 19th, Sun Galactic Center, Venus square Chiron. And then on the 20th, Jupiter moves over into Aries, 20th, 21st, making an exact square with the Sun that moves over into Capricorn at 0 degrees. Sun square Jupiter at 0 degrees Capricorn on the solstice here. And it's like Jupiter's like, "Oh, we've been waiting and waiting for this life to come back, a rebirth, the new timeline, this anchoring in, our landing home." And then the sun in Capricorn at 0 degrees is saying, "Oh, no, you don't. No, you don't even know who you are. No, we own you. Oh, your intellectual property. Oh, thanks for signing up for our program. Now we own you." And but it's like the power, and so this is where we get the slingshot energy, because that sun square Jupiter is just like the holding back of the new light, you know? And then we're not going to concede this time. There's no concession. Too many people are on the page. So many powerful souls on this planet about to pop off, you know? And so when that square resolves at Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, that's the slingshot. So it's like a portal is being created. And there's always this energy around this time of year. Um, and where the solstice, but it takes like 3 days for for the solstice, the sun to come back into motion. And so that is a magical, mystical time. And that's why the Christmas holiday has been put there, because it's about the return of the light and the return of the sun. And, but there's this energy of coming out of that darkness of the solstice. And it's like spiraling in to the dark to find that inner light and to come back out. And so that energy of coming out of the solstice and sun square Jupiter, and then when it resolves, it's like, oh. And so, and then there's a new moon on the 23rd, the same day that Chiron goes direct. So that week from the 18th, early next week through Christmas is like, whoa. And it's actually good timing because people typically have, um, unless last minute Christmas stuff to do, but a little bit more time. Really take time to be with yourself and be ready. This is not a time to be running around distracted. You know, it's not about buying Christmas lights, or that's fine or whatever, but it's about your Christmas, you as the Christmas light. I mean, we're plugging in the string, and it's like all of this, like, stuck, unknown, scared, lost, alone, and it's like, "No, no, 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 now we plug in." I mean, literally, the technology exists that we could plug into our own body and light our Christmas lights. It literally exists. They don't want us to know about it, of course, because we'd be like, "Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. It's our power. We had it all along." And this is the energy. I mean, Pluto is finally making, yes, it's going to be a couple of years of transition, but Pluto in March is moving over to Aquarius. So Pluto in Capricorn since 2008, it's been about structures that have been in control of the power, and where we've allowed our power to be controlled by those outside of us. We feed the matrix. Our consciousness allows this to exist, and that's where we're like, so we got to plug into our own power and unplug from that matrix. And that's going to be way easier to do, because it's really hard to let go of all the old if you don't see the magic, if you don't have a miracle, if you can't feel the energy. And this is everything in this last end game is about trying to distract us and keep us from this spiritual moment, this evolutionary leap, to keep us in misery and low vibrations and trapped and and quarantined and imprisoned in our own mind so that we don't catch this. And yet there's just too many people. I just saw this flash. I was just shown this, like, these souls that we've read about through history of, like, that have done amazing things and that we don't even know about, that have done amazing things because they wouldn't tell us about that history. And they're all here on the planet right now. I mean, masters, more masters than ever before incarnated. Can you feel into that energy? Because you're becoming a master. That's why you're here going through hell. It's not just to go through hell and stay stuck forever in eternity. And so this is super powerful because that new moon is at 1 degree Capricorn, 33 minutes. And 33, we know 33 is the year that Christ had his, Jesus, Yeshua had his transformation, transfiguration. It's about enlightenment. There's 33 vertebrae, right? It's about our Kundalini energy bringing it up. But 33 is also the level where all the people that know all the things that we're not supposed to know, because if we knew them, we wouldn't stay as human slaves. You know, the degree of Masons, it's like represents energetic control of humanity. And human, we even saying humans, it's like, oh, little humans, right? And it's like, no, 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 no. We're rewriting this story. This is not true. Because the human soul and a body, that's what they all want. Do you get it? This whole situation is about interrupting our in our physical body, our ability to relate and connect to our God code DNA. It's all a distraction. It's like turning the trail again and again. It's like, "Oh, no, 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 over here, over here. Do this, do this, do this. Don't worry about that. No, that's scary and big." And it's like, "No, that's you. And you're scary to the matrix." You know? Just one of us. One of us could go off completely into this technology that we have, and it's game over. And humanity rises up and sees the truth and says, "Oh, no. Oh, no, you're messing with the wrong folks here." Right? Especially in the US, there's a massive awakening. You know, the US is like a destiny of, on the one hand, the most imprisoned, and on the other hand, um, the just like I mean, there's this energy of this AI takeover on different realms and planets or whatever, and that there's been that there's Earth is a stronghold for the AI right now. But that's because Earth is playing an absolutely crucial role in throwing off the energy for other planets as well. And so that's why we're in this huge bloom, and it's like of this totalitarianism and this energy playing out. It has to play out that way. Um, but we're in this moment of flip, the slingshot. Are you ready? Get in your cannon. Where we go from, "Oh, yeah, we had the power all along," and a few very bright, powerful souls demonstrating this, and humanity stands up and says, "Oh, no, we're not gonna take it," you know? And the power of that and supernova souls getting poised to begin to build the structures of this new world. And that's kind of what we're feeling. It's like Mercury and Venus moving over to Capricorn. It's like, okay, I'm just going to get started on something. I'm just going to move. I'm just going to get to work. It'll work out somehow. And then it's like, "Wah," Mercury retrograde. And I was like, oh my gosh, Mercury and Mars retrograde at the same time. And very powerful energies, but we have to see the bigger story of this massive culmination, this spiraling into the darkness, Jupiter at the end degrees of Pisces, Mars retrograde. It's like, and it's that place right before the light comes in that seems all is lost. This is the hero's journey, and that's where we've been, and that's where we are. But at the same time, there's a point there where you're like, wait a minute, I'm not going through this for this. I'm going through this for that. And I see it now, and that light is coming in me. It's not at the end of the tunnel. It's here, right here. You're in the tunnel. You are the tunnel. You are the light. You're the portal. So it'll be really exciting and fun to explore these concepts in the Supernova Soul Group session this is a group intuitive session for the solstice, and it works out that we get to do it at the exact time of solstice this year, and that will be 2 p.m. Mountain Time on the 21st, December 21st. So I hope you'll consider joining that. Very powerful as we have that soul retrieval experience and claim back the light that we are, dropping all of those old stories. It's so powerful to look at shared past lives for supernova souls because we've all experienced very similar stories. And we can look at those stories and unlock the secrets and the code so that we can land home. So, very powerful energies, and everything is saying now is the time for us to move. We're facing off against this. We're not going to roll over and play dead, and we're not going to necessarily engage in battle either. Although this battle cry energy is so important because there's a place when you come into empowerment from disempowerment, there's a place where a threshold place where there's the anger and the righteous anger. And of course, we're taught that Mars and male energy and any kind of impetus like that is toxic and dangerous and violent, right? But it's like, no, we need a freaking backbone. It's like, so we got to resurrect the masculine as well as getting the feminine out of the dungeon, right? And this is this energy of righteous anger that's coming up. And it's like, oh no, no. And that is such an important place of stepping into that empowerment. And that's ultimately completely out of the battle, right? But for this moment, we're being asked to stand together in the light, in our resolute determination as the warriors we are, and claim and own this evolution. And the time is now. So, very powerful energies. Let's stay connected. This week is intense, but know that we're spiraling into the dark. Reclaim those miracles. Come back as the light that we really are. And I'm so honored to be on the journey with you, Supernova Souls. I can't wait to see what happens as we turn this corner and this slingshot is released. So thank you so much for being here, being with me, going through all you've gone through, to be here as the warrior of the light that you are, in that incredible power of life force that's ready to move through you, the exuberance, the ecstasy, the true experience of living. And you stand true to that, and you come back to that, and you live and breathe that to the people around you. And the message coming through again, I started to say earlier, but it's good completion. We've been so waiting for the next bad thing to happen, right? Because with the control energies and control and going through this total totalitarianism, they're going to do whatever they can to try to keep control, And so it's like we've all been waiting for like what is going to happen, What kind of tragedy this time, And we got to turn this around because the message coming in is like how quickly things can change for the better. Once this life force is the code is cracked and it can come into your life. And that life force itself, that vital force can dissolve and deactivate any nanotechnology and implants and bullshit that we've all been dealing with. It's like it that vital force, that force of light that's just about to be unleashed, and it's because that Aries energy, Chiron turning direct and Mercury square Chiron 3 times, and it's like cl- claiming that vital force for good and for once and for all, and mustering up final strength of the organism. Humanity being like, whoa, we got to take it back, our power. And immediately the control energies fall, the veil falls, the truth is evident in the miracles, and you are that miracle. And when are you going to let yourself be in that abundance of who you are? So I'm so glad we're here doing it together, Supernova Souls. I look forward to seeing you soon, hopefully at that soul group session for the solstice and or namaste.